My name is Raza Ali. I'm currently the head teacher of the Chalk Hills Academy. We're part of the Shared Learning Trust. We currently are in Luton, in Bedfordshire. We serve a very, very diverse community of just under 1,700 students, and I've currently been in my role for just over 2 years, and I'm absolutely enjoying it so far, and we've got some great plans ahead. So my day today, I think the first and obvious thing to say is no 2 days are the same. I can plan as much as I can the night before, the week before, but ultimately I tend to find out things that happen in the morning which will then shape the rest of my day and sometimes the rest of my week. It's a very busy day. I have lots of back-to-back meetings. I have back-to-back meetings with staff. I have meetings with parents and carers. I love having meetings with students as well to find out what their experience is at the Chalk Hills Academy. So in the past, CPD has been quite generic at times because of the fact that we've had to cover some of those areas that I spoke about earlier on. It's been quite generic. Sometimes it has to be generic because of the fact that actually there's certain mandatory stuff that you have to do, sometimes related to safeguarding that we have to do, and therefore it lends itself sometimes to being generic, and sometimes that's out of our control because we have to deliver certain content in a particular way. But other times I feel like with the CPD we offer, we need to make it relevant to the needs of the staff, but we also need to maybe utilize things that sometimes happen outside of education that we can bring into education. So for example, we always look to work with partners that have had experience of working, for example, in business, where they can utilize some of the learnings from the business industry and see if we can maybe utilize some of those learnings also in the education setting. So that's why we always try to make sure that our CPD is refreshed every year, and we're also looking for ways to make it less generic. The main reason why we chose to work with Innerscope, because Innerscope brought a refreshing brand of CPD that we didn't normally get from some of our common providers. Innerscope was very good early on at showcasing that the CPD offered was very tailored to the audience that we had. So we had CPD that was targeted towards leaders, namely the senior leadership team, but also there was CPD that could also be offered for middle leadership. So one of the biggest selling points for Innerscope was that the CPD is very tailored. The second thing that really made Innerscope different in a positive way to some of the other providers was that the CPD used the latest research that was available in the industry, but it was also using case studies, not just in education, but outside of education, that could easily be applied, understood, and then personalized to our own setting. And that was really, really powerful. And then the third thing, I suppose, that really worked for us personally was that Innerscope is an organization that works with you. It makes sure that it actually understands the actual environment that they're working in. So every school environment is different, every leadership team is different. So Innerscope was very good at, first of all, getting an understanding of what your specific needs are. It then worked with you to tailor the CPD program, and then at the end of it, there was also opportunities to reflect in terms of how we could make the program better, so that if we were then to reuse Innerscope, we could then make sure that any future programs were having that bigger impact and were refreshed from what we want it to be. The impact of the Innerscope CPD program has been really, really positive for Chalk Hills and the leadership team and the whole staff body. The reason for that is because one of the programs that the Innerscope team had offered us was around the 5 Voices program. And the 5 Voices program was not just used for the leadership team, and I'll talk about this later on, but it was also used for our middle leadership team program. The reason for that is because when the Innerscope team came in with this new idea of looking at the different voices and how we can, first of all, understand them, but also how do we then positively react to them, the leadership team really, really felt that there was a lot of learning that they could take away, but also apply to their day-to-day role. I always like to ask the leadership team in person how they felt of that leadership team, not just the reflection forms that they do in the end. And every single member of the leadership team, of which I have at the moment 12 leaders, every single one of them was overwhelmingly positive on how, not just what the learning they did, but also how they can apply that learning to the challenges or the situations they have in their work. Because of that positive feedback, I then went back to the Innerscope team and I really asked if we could then apply that 5 Voices training to our middle leadership group of leaders, to which then I met with the team, and they then tailored the program specifically for my middle leaders. We've just finished that program right now, and again, there's no surprise here, the feedback from the middle leaders has also been very, very positive. And I certainly would recommend any school leader to look into that 5 Leadership Voices training, because I really think it could have the same desired impact in your environment too. The CPD program offered to the Chalkers Academy by Innerscope really helped in the progress of our school, because when we set out to set out our priorities at the start of the year, we were very clear on what we wanted to do. One layer of that priority was around making sure that leaders are developed right across the school. And when we then worked with Innerscope, we could see not just the impact it had, but because of the fact that our school results were improving, because of the fact that our teacher turnover become less, but also at the same time we were able to retain staff, it was very, very clear that because of that CPD that was offered by Innerscope, the progress that it had was very, very evident and tangible. So the progress you're going to see from the Innerscope CPD program will not just be in terms of the leadership development side of things, but you're also going to see the progress in terms of your day-to-day priorities. And for that reason, again, I would strongly suggest that you look into the Innerscope program.